The diplomatic reception hall aboard the United Earth vessel Endeavour buzzed with nervous energy. Elena observed the Concord representatives through narrowed eyes, cataloging their subtle behaviours. Despite their technological marvels, translators that captured tone and nuance, gravity manipulators that allowed species from high and low G worlds to mingle comfortably, the aliens maintained a precise distance from the human delegation. Ambassador Keleth, Elena said, approaching the tall, willowy being whose translucent skin revealed pulsing organs beneath. I noticed you've barely touched the synthesized refreshments. Our analysis indicated they would be compatible with Linthari physiology. Keleth's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession. It is adequate, Captain Reyes. We simply have different customs regarding consumption in diplomatic settings. A lie. Elena had studied Linthari protocols extensively. They considered shared meals the foundation of trust building. Admiral Chen appeared at her side, datapad in hand. Captain, a moment of your time. Once they stepped away from the gathering, his expression darkened. Command just forwarded this. The Concord's preliminary trade proposal. Elena scanned the document, her frown deepening with each line. This can't be serious. They're offering minimal technological exchange, atmosphere processors, and basic gravity tech, in return for exclusive mining rights in the entire Kuiper belt. It gets worse, Chen said. Notice subsection 47B. Her eyes widened as she read the clause requiring human representatives to remain inside designated diplomatic zones on all conquered worlds and vessels. Essentially quarantine conditions. They're treating us like a contagion, she whispered. Or a threat, Chen corrected, which makes no sense given their clear technological superiority. Elena returned the datapad, her mind racing. Permission to form a specialized investigative team, sir. Chen nodded. Already approved. I want answers before we proceed with any binding agreements. Later that night, Elena stood in her quarters, staring at the holographic display of known conquered species. 17 distinct civilizations, each with unique biology and evolutionary paths, yet all united in their subtle aversion to humanity. A soft chime announced Dr. Lakshmi's arrival. The xenobiologist entered carrying a secure data core. I analysed their medical scans during the welcoming ceremony, Lakshmi said without preamble. The results are fascinating. When in proximity to humans, all 17 species display measurable stress responses, elevated hormones, heightened neural activity in threat assessment regions, even defensive protein production in some cases. They're afraid of us, Elena said flatly. Not just afraid, their bodies are preparing for extreme danger. Lakshmi projected a comparison chart. These readings more closely match responses to predator encounters or imminent environmental collapse than diplomatic anxiety. Elena's communicator pulsed with a priority message from Admiral Chen. Request for your presence aboard conquered vessel. Diplomatic breakthrough. Immediate departure authorized. This could be our chance, Elena said, gathering her field kit. As the shuttle approached the massive Concorde ship, Elena rehearsed her approach. Direct questioning would yield nothing. She needed to observe, to create situations that might reveal the truth behind their fear. The Concorde ship's docking bay dwarfed their shuttle. As the airlock cycled and pressure equalized, Elena took a deep breath. Whatever monsters these beings feared, she was determined to understand why humanity's image cast such a long shadow across the stars. The truth, she suspected, would either forge humanity's place among the galactic community or confirm their deepest fears about us. Elena's hand hovered over the ancient control interface, her reflection ghostly in the obsidian surface. Skthar chittered nervously behind her, compound eyes darting between Elena and the security drones that hovered at the archive chamber's perimeter. The ancestral records are not meant for non-conquered species, the xenoanthropologist whispered, all 6 limbs twitching with anxiety. If the archival guardians discover our true purpose. They won't, Elena assured him, pressing her palm against the scanner. The device hummed, analyzing her DNA. Red warnings flashed across the screen in 17 different languages. Access denied. Species unknown. Potential contamination risk. Elena withdrew a small device Dr. Lakshmi had prepared. A modified genetic masker programmed with Skathar's biochemical signature. The archives wouldn't grant access to a human, but they might accept what appeared to be a senior Concord researcher. The scanner pulsed green. Massive doors slid open with a resonant hum, revealing a chamber that stretched beyond human perception. Shelves and data columns, extending into darkness, so complete it seemed to swallow light itself. We have 19 minutes before the system detects the anomaly, Skthar said, moving to the central terminal. What specific information do you seek? Elena joined him at the console. Everything about the monsters, or the darkness that walks. Focus on biological capabilities, historical encounters, and last known coordinates. The search parameters unlocked a flood of restricted files, holographic projections materializing around them in a chaotic swirl of light and sound. Elena gasped as images coalesced, beings with unmistakably humanoid features performing impossible feats. A recording from a Concord scientific outpost showed a subject continuing to function despite catastrophic decompression. Another displayed regeneration of complex tissues within hours rather than months. Most disturbing was battle footage, humanoid figures continuing to advance despite injuries that would immediately incapacitate any known species. These can't be real, Elena whispered, reaching toward a projection of a being walking unprotected across the surface of an ice moon, internal temperature maintained despite the minus 200 degrees Celsius environment. All ancestral records are verified across multiple independent sources. Skthar said, his voice barely audible. These are not legends, Captain Reyes. The Galactic monsters were real. Where? What happened to them? Skthar accessed deeper archives, his appendages trembling as he bypassed security protocols. According to this, they vanished approximately 2.7 million years ago. The Concord's predecessor alliance launched a unified campaign against their last known stronghold, a solar system with a G-type main sequence star and 8 planetary bodies. Elena felt cold realization spread through her chest. Earth's solar system. The records indicate the campaign resulted in mutual destruction. The monsters' civilization collapsed, but they took half the attacking fleet with them. Skthar paused, scanning rapidly through data streams. Wait, there's more. Biological analysis indicates the monsters possessed a unique genetic marker, a specific protein sequence that enabled their remarkable physical capabilities. The timer on Elena's wrist device blinked red. 3 minutes remaining. Download everything, she ordered, connecting a quantum storage device to the terminal. As data streamed into the device, a final hologram appeared, a genetic sequence rotating slowly in the air between them. Skthar recoiled, his exoskeleton clicking in distress. Impossible, he whispered. This protein sequence, it appears in trace amounts in human DNA. An alarm blared through the archives. Security overrides engaged. The massive doors began to close. We need to leave. Now, Elena said, snatching the storage device as the hologram disappeared. As they ran toward the narrowing exit, Zikthar's voice echoed against the ancient walls. "What are you, Elena Reyes? What is humanity truly?" The question hung unanswered in the air as the door sealed behind them with the finality of a tomb. Elena's breath crystallized in front of her face as she trudged forward, the alien scientist Mekro cradled in her arms. The Vosgian's normally vibrant blue skin had faded to a dull grey, his respiratory slits barely fluttering as his metabolism slowed to preserve core functions. Behind her, Lieutenant Park and Dr. Hammond carried two more alien crew members, their boots crunching on the frost-covered deck plating. "How much farther to the central hub?" Park called out, his voice muffled by the thermal mask covering his face. Elena checked the holographic map projected from her wrist device. 2 more junctions. The emergency power should still be active there. The ancient station groaned around them, metal contracting in the extreme cold. Temperature readings on Elena's display showed negative 85 degrees Celsius and falling. At this temperature, even their thermal suits would fail within 30 minutes. "Captain," Hammond's voice cracked through the comms, "I'm monitoring our alien colleagues' vital signs. If we don't get them warm soon..." "We will," Elena cut him off, pushing forward. The Concord database mentioned emergency protocols. The central hub should have isolated power cells. They reached a massive bulkhead door, its control panel dark and unresponsive. Park set down his burden gently and retrieved the portable fusion cutter from his pack. The tool's plasma beam sputtered in the cold, but managed to slice through the ancient locking mechanism. "Help me push," Elena ordered, shifting Mekral's weight to Hammond. Elena and Park braced against the massive door, muscles straining against the resistance. Slowly, agonizingly, it began to move, scraping across the frozen floor until the gap was wide enough to squeeze through. The central hub spread before them, a vast circular chamber with workstations arranged in concentric rings around a central pillar. Unlike the rest of the station, Frost had not claimed this room. "It's warm," Park said in disbelief, pulling off his mask. "Not comfortable, but maybe 10 degrees. How is that possible after millions of years?" Elena moved to a control panel, laying Mekral on a cleared surface. The station must have shunted all remaining power to preserve this section. As Hammond tended to the alien scientists, Elena examined the central pillar. Symbols etched into its surface matched those from the Concord archives, the language of the monsters. She pressed her palm against what appeared to be an activation sensor. The pillar hummed to life, light spiraling up its length as ancient systems reactivated. A holographic display materialized in the air, showing schematics of the station and what appeared to be medical data. "Dr. Hammond," Elena called, "I think I found environmental controls." Hammond joined her, studying the unfamiliar interface. "These look like biological monitoring systems. If I'm interpreting correctly, this station was designed to support beings with impossible physiological parameters." Elena navigated through the alien systems, finding what appeared to be life support controls. The temperature in the room began to rise steadily. "Captain," Park called from across the room, "you need to see this." Elena crossed to where Park stood before a transparent wall that had been hidden behind retractable panels. Beyond the barrier lay row upon row of preservation chambers, each containing a humanoid figure. "They're not all empty," Park whispered. In the nearest chamber, a tall figure floated in suspension fluid, its features unmistakably human yet subtly different. Broader shoulders, denser muscle structure, reinforced skeletal system visible through semi-transparent skin. The chamber's monitoring system indicated active cryostasis rather than death. Behind them, the alien scientists began to regain consciousness, their frightened voices rising as they saw what the humans had discovered. "Captain," Dr. Hammond said quietly, checking readings on his scanner, "these beings are genetically compatible with humans. 97% match, whatever they are." "They're our family," Elena finished, placing her hand against the cold surface of the preservation chamber. "And if the readings are correct, they're still alive." Dr. Patel hunched over his workstation, surrounded by floating holographic displays of DNA sequences. Elena watched as he swiped through comparative analyses, his brow furrowed in concentration. The recovered alien scientists observed from a safe distance, their bodies still recovering from the extreme cold. "It's remarkable," Patel murmured, manipulating a strand of genetic code with practiced gestures. "The modifications are elegant, far beyond what we can currently achieve. Whoever engineered these changes had complete mastery of genomics." Elena studied the displays, recognizing the double helix structure of human DNA alongside the modified version from the preserved specimens. "What exactly am I looking at, Doctor?" Patel highlighted several sequences that pulsed in synchronization. "These are the engineered changes. Enhanced mitochondrial efficiency, allowing for extreme energy production. Cellular structures that can operate in oxygen-poor environments. Vastly improved tissue regeneration pathways. Reinforced skeletal system with self-healing microfracture capabilities." "Super soldiers," Elena said quietly. "Living weapons," Patel corrected, "but with modifications for intelligence and problem-solving. They weren't meant to be mindless drones." The station's ancient computer systems had yielded more than biological samples. Historical records, fragmented but recoverable, told a story that rewrote humanity's understanding of their place in the cosmos. "According to these archives," Patel continued, bringing up translated text, "a species called the progenitors visited Earth approximately 3 million years ago. They collected specimens of early hominids, likely Homo habilis, and brought them to research facilities throughout this sector. The lead Concord scientist, a Meritaxian named Vril, whose insectoid features had regained some color, stepped closer to the displays. This matches fragments of our most ancient histories. Vril clicked through mandibles, still stiff from the cold. The progenitors were said to have seeded technologies across the galaxy before their mysterious disappearance." "Not disappearance," Elena said, gesturing toward another screen displaying battle records. "Extinction, by their own creations." The records showed the modified humans, the Prometheans, as they had named themselves, rising against their creators in a rebellion that spanned dozens of star systems. The progenitors had created the perfect warriors, but had failed to anticipate that intelligence and self-awareness would lead to questions of purpose and freedom. "The war lasted nearly 2 centuries, Patel said, scrolling through the timeline. "The Prometheans were outnumbered, but nearly impossible to kill. They could survive in environments the progenitors couldn't, adapt to weapons designed to target them, and strategize with terrifying efficiency. And we carry traces of their genetic code," Elena said, the implications settling like a weight on her shoulders. "That's why the Concord fears us. They see the potential for those same capabilities." Vril's antenna twitched in affirmation. "Our oldest warning texts speak of beings who could not be stopped by conventional means. Species who encountered them rarely survived to document the experience." Elena turned to face the preservation chambers visible through the transparent barrier, each containing a dormant Promethean. But they didn't exterminate humanity. After defeating the progenitors, They left our ancestors on Earth to evolve naturally. Perhaps they recognized something in their unmodified kin, Petal suggested, a potential path they themselves had been denied. The communication system crackled to life, Lieutenant Park's voice urgent through the static. "Captain, we've got movement in Cryochamber 3. One of them is waking up." Elena exchanged glances with Petal, then with the Conquerors scientists who had backed away in visible terror. "Prepare medical support and security protocols," she ordered, moving toward the chamber section. "We're about to meet our ancient cousins face to face." The Concord Emergency Council chamber hummed with panicked voices. Representatives from 17 species gestured at holographic displays showing devastation across colonial worlds. Elena stood at the center of the storm, her voice steady despite the hostile glares directed her way. "The Promethean we revived has provided critical intelligence," she insisted, nodding to Dr. Petal, who operated the presentation controls. "Their fleet isn't attacking randomly. They're following a specific protocol established millions of years ago." Admiral Jurel, a massive amphibious being whose scales shifted between crimson and black with emotion, leaned forward. "And we should trust this information. From a creature whose kind nearly annihilated the progenitor civilization. The Promethean, who calls himself Sentinel, has cooperated fully," Elena countered. "He seems as surprised by current galactic politics as we are by his existence." The holographic display shifted to show footage from the medical bay of the research vessel. The awakened Promethean sat calmly, his enhanced physique making him tower over the human medical staff. Despite his intimidating presence, his demeanor remained measured, analytical. "He confirms what the station records told us," Elena continued. "The Prometheans were created as weapons but developed self-awareness. They rebelled not out of malice but for freedom. After the conflict, most entered cryostasis in hidden outposts throughout the galaxy, with automated systems programmed to revive them if specific threat conditions were detected." Councillor Vex chittered angrily, mandibles clicking in agitation. "What threat conditions?" Elena hesitated, exchanging glances with Dr. Petal before answering. "Signs of progenitor technology becoming active again. The Promethean outpost that launched the attacks detected energy signatures matching progenitor weapons systems in the Keras sector." A stunned silence fell over the chamber. The Keras sector contained the Conquerors' most advanced research facilities, where they studied and reverse-engineered ancient technologies found throughout explored space. "You're suggesting we triggered this response ourselves," Admiral Jurel said slowly. "Unintentionally," Elena clarified. "The Prometheans have no quarrel with the Concord specifically. They're executing a defensive protocol established millennia ago to prevent the progenitors from ever threatening them again." The holographic display changed to show tactical maps of the attacked systems. Each target housed research facilities working with recovered ancient technology. "We need to cease all activation of progenitor tech immediately," Elena urged. "And we need to establish direct communication with the Promethean fleet commander. Sentinel has provided encryption protocols that should allow us to open a channel." Councillor Vex rose from his seat, compound eyes flashing with anger. "Why should we trust humans to negotiate? For all we know, you could be in league with these monsters. Your genetic similarity is precisely why you need us," Elena interrupted firmly. "We share enough biology to understand them, but our evolution took a different path. We're the only bridge you have." Admiral Jurel's scales settled into a deep blue, a sign of reluctant acceptance among his kind. "Captain Reyes speaks logic. The human connection to these Prometheans may be our only advantage. If we send a human vessel, Another councillor objected. What prevents the Prometheans from simply adding them to their forces? From creating an alliance against the conquered? Elena stepped closer to the council table, her expression resolute. Because I give you my word. And because humanity has more to lose than gain from conflict. We've only just found our place among the stars. We won't jeopardize that future. A tense silence filled the chamber as the council members exchanged glances, weighing impossible choices against uncertain dangers. Very well, Admiral Jurel finally announced. Captain Reyes, you will lead a joint diplomatic mission to establish contact with the Promethean command. But know this, should you fail, the Concord will have no choice but to deploy its full military might against both fleets. The comm channel remained silent for what felt like eternity. Elena stood motionless on the command deck, acutely aware of the Concord officers watching her with a mixture of hope and suspicion. Sentinel stood beside her, his enhanced physiology making him tower over everyone present. His grey skin reflected the blue glow of the tactical displays, giving him an almost spectral appearance. They will respond, Sentinel stated with unnerving certainty. Primus follows the old protocols. When communication is established, I must speak first. My genetic signature will authenticate our message. Admiral Jurel shifted uncomfortably. And if they perceive this as a trap? If they believe you are under duress? Then we die, Sentinel replied simply. The Promethean fleet carries weapons designed to penetrate progenitor defenses. Your shields would offer minimal resistance. The brutal honesty silenced further questions. Elena studied Sentinel's face, searching for emotions beneath the engineered stoicism. During the days since his revival, she had glimpsed occasional flashes of curiosity, confusion, even wonder. Hints that beneath the warrior's exterior lay a being capable of change. The view screen flared to life. A face similar to Sentinel's appeared, though marked with intricate scarification denoting rank and battle history. Sentinel straightened, speaking in a language that sounded like liquid mathematics, precise syllables interspersed with harmonic tones beyond human vocal range. The translation software struggled, catching fragments. Awakened brother, confirmation sequence, primary objective status. The Promethean commander, Primus, responded, his eyes narrowing as he noticed Elena and the Concord officers. His reply came faster, more aggressive. Sentinel turned to Elena. He demands proof that I speak freely. He believes I may be compromised. Elena nodded. Tell him the truth. All of it. Sentinel faced the screen again, speaking for nearly a minute without pause. As he spoke, Primus's expression shifted from suspicion to disbelief. When Sentinel finished, silence engulfed both vessels. Finally, Primus spoke, this time slowly enough for the translation software to process completely. If what you claim is true, that the progenitors are extinct, then our purpose requires reconsideration. I require verification beyond transmitted data. We anticipated this, Elena said, stepping forward. We propose a neutral meeting ground. Our scientists have prepared a secure facility on the research station where Sentinel was found. Primus studied her, his enhanced eyes undoubtedly cataloging every physiological detail. You are unmodified, yet your genetic pattern echoes our own. Explain. We are what your kind might have become without progenitor interference, Elena replied. Your creators took our common ancestors from Earth millions of years ago. Those left behind evolved naturally into modern humans. Something like wonder flickered across Primus's face, an expression Elena had seen briefly on Sentinels. Unguided evolution produced beings capable of interstellar travel. We're slower, weaker, and less durable than your kind, Elena acknowledged. But we've survived, adapted, created civilizations, art, music, philosophy. Primus was silent for a long moment. The meeting will proceed. However, I require one additional condition. Elena tensed. Name it. You will submit to direct neural interface, Primus stated. Mind-to-mind communication cannot be falsified or manipulated. I must know the absolute truth of your claims. The Concord officers erupted in protest. Neural interface technology was considered deeply invasive, potentially fatal to unprepared minds. Admiral Jurel moved forward, scales flushing crimson. Captain Reyes, we cannot allow. I accept, Elena interrupted, her voice cutting through the chaos. If that's what it takes to prevent further bloodshed, I consent to the procedure. Sentinel looked at her with something approaching respect. You understand this could kill you. Even modified minds sometimes fail to survive the integration. Elena met his gaze steadily. Some risks are worth taking. On the view screen, Primus inclined his head slightly, the first gesture of respect he had shown. We will arrive at the designated coordinates in 12 hours. Prepare yourself, unmodified human. Few have witnessed the memories of the freed ones and remained unchanged. Pain dissolved into cascading sensations as Elena's consciousness expanded beyond the confines of her body. Memories not her own flooded through her mind. The sterile laboratories where the Prometheans first awoke, the cold calculation of their progenitor creators, the dawning horror as they realized their purpose was merely to kill and die for beings who viewed them as tools. She experienced centuries compressed into seconds. The first whispered rebellions, the systematic sabotage of progenitor facilities, the desperate battles where newly awakened Prometheans fought for the freedom of their sleeping kin. She felt the weight of impossible choices made during their war for liberation, atrocities committed in the name of survival, the burden of leadership carried by those created only to follow orders. Through it all ran a current of loneliness so profound it ached. The Prometheans had won their freedom, but lost their purpose. They had no homeworld, no culture beyond what they cobbled together from the ashes of their rebellion. They were orphans of creation, adrift in a hostile universe. Suddenly, the perspective shifted. Now Primus experienced Elena's memories, Earth's blue skies and endless oceans, the messy complexity of human civilization, the stumbling progress from stone tools to spacecraft. He witnessed humanity's capacity for both tremendous cruelty and breathtaking compassion, the art and music created for no purpose beyond beauty itself, the bonds of family and friendship that defined human existence. He felt Elena's wonder upon first leaving Earth's atmosphere, her fierce dedication to her crew, her terror, and resolve when confronting the unknown. Most of all, he experienced the human capacity for hope, the stubborn belief that tomorrow could be better than today, that understanding could replace fear. The neural interface began to destabilize, the connection fluctuating as Elena's unmodified physiology strained under the pressure. Medical alarms blared distantly, reality threatening to reassert itself. In the final moments before separation, something unprecedented occurred. The barriers between their minds dissolved completely, creating not just a bridge, but a synthesis, a shared consciousness that was neither fully Promethean nor fully human. In that perfect moment of unity, a solution crystallized. Not merely peace between their kinds, but a path forward that honored both their shared origins and divergent paths. The Prometheans had physical perfection, but lacked cultural identity. Humans had built civilizations, but remained biologically vulnerable. Together, they formed something greater than either could achieve alone. When the connection finally broke, Elena gasped awake to find Dr. Patel hovering anxiously over her, medical scanners whirring. Across the chamber, Primus was supported by 2 Promethean attendants, his engineered physiology recovering faster than her natural body. "Did you see?" Elena whispered, her voice hoarse. "Did you understand?" Primus looked up, his expression transformed. The cold tactical calculation had given way to something new. Wonder, perhaps even hope. "I saw everything," he replied, his voice uncharacteristically gentle. "Your kind evolved without guidance, yet you created music, art, literature. You built societies based on choice rather than function. And your kind survived impossible odds," Elena countered. "You transformed tools of war into guardians of freedom. You preserved your humanity despite being engineered to abandon it." Admiral Jarrell stepped forward cautiously. "Captain Reyes, are you suggesting an alliance with these beings?" Elena met Primus's gaze across the chamber, a silent understanding passing between them. "Not just an alliance, Admiral. A reunion. The Prometheans aren't monsters. They're family we never knew we had. And family doesn't just offer peace. It offers belonging." Primus rose to his full height, impressive even among his kind. "We were created as weapons, but we choose now to be guardians. Protectors of our cousins." The word sounded strange from his lips, but his certainty was unmistakable. The Promethean collective will stand with humanity. Elena stood by the observation dome's edge, watching shuttles from 17 worlds converge on the orbital platform. 6 months of relentless diplomacy had transformed initial fear into cautious cooperation. The Promethean vessels, once harbingers of dread, now served as honor guards alongside Concord defense ships. "Quite the view," Admiral Jarrell said, approaching with measured steps. His scales had settled into a peaceful blue-green. "When I first met you, Captain Reyes, I would never have imagined this outcome." Elena smiled. "Neither would I fear makes poor astronomers of us all, Admiral. We see monsters in the stars instead of potential allies." Below them, in the main laboratory complex, human and Promethean scientists worked alongside Concord researchers. The collaboration had already yielded breakthroughs in medical technology, Promethean regenerative techniques, adapted for unmodified human biology, promised to revolutionize healthcare across all species. The council vote was unanimous, Jarrell noted. Full diplomatic recognition for both humanity and the Promethean collective. The treaty will be signed within the hour. And the genetic cooperation protocols. Jarrell's skin rippled with what Elena had learned was amusement. Approved, though not without debate. Some council members still struggle with the concept of voluntary genetic enhancement. The medical ethics committees had established strict guidelines. No forced modifications. No alterations to reproductive cells. Any enhancement would be individual choice, never population-wide policy. Humanity would chart its own evolutionary course, learning from but never replicating the Prometheans' engineered past. Sentinel entered the observation dome, his ceremonial armor gleaming. The Promethean bore the newly created insignia of diplomatic service, a double helix intertwined with a spiral galaxy. "The Primus requests your presence, Captain," he said, his once mechanical speech now inflected with subtle emotion. "The historical records are ready for transfer." The Prometheans had offered humanity a priceless gift, their complete historical archives, including genetic records of Earth species long extinct. In exchange, humans shared their cultural treasures, music, literature, art, philosophy. What the Prometheans had been denied in their creation, they now embraced with almost childlike wonder. Elena followed Sentinel toward the ceremonial chamber. How is Primus adapting to his new role? He finds diplomacy more challenging than warfare, Sentinel admitted. But the neural connection with you changed him fundamentally. He speaks often of human music. Yesterday he spent 3 hours listening to something called jazz. Elena laughed. A far cry from the fearsome commander we first encountered. We were created to inspire fear, Sentinel said thoughtfully. Learning to inspire trust instead has been illuminating. They entered the grand chamber where representatives from all species had gathered. Primus stood at the center, his imposing presence now tempered with diplomatic grace. Beside him, Admiral Chen represented Earth, while Councillor Vex, once their most vocal opponent, represented the conquered. Primus acknowledged Elena with the formal Promethean salute, right hand over the heart, then extended palm outward, symbolizing truth offered freely. Captain Reyes, he greeted her. We are ready to begin the ceremony. The chamber hushed as Elena took her position. 3 months ago, she had been appointed special envoy to both the Concord and the Promethean Collective, a bridge between worlds once divided by terror. We gather today, she began, her voice carrying to all corners of the chamber, to formalize not just an alliance, but a recognition of shared heritage. The stars wrote our beginning, but they did not determine our end. As she spoke, the dome above the chamber turned transparent, revealing the vast canvas of space, not as a void that separated, but as a field that connected all sentient life. What had once been a graveyard of fears now promised a future limited only by imagination. Today, Elena continued, we redefine what it means to be monstrous. Not by our capacity to inspire fear, but by our willingness to transform that fear into understanding.